and we have a very special guest, as usual, here with us today, and she is not able to pop on yet, so I'm just going to talk until she gets here. But our subject for the day is finding your intuitive center. And I love this subject because I think there's so much that can pull us out of center, especially in times like today where there's just so much going on in the world and us all just moving to our next level of consciousness and how we can even be more loving and live even more lives that we love. So, the goal of when you find your intuitive center is to be more centered in your life, to be able to make good decisions, to be able to really create a life you love from those decisions and break through anything that's stopping you from doing that now. So I invite you just to take a moment now to connect with your intuitive center. And the easiest way I have found to do that is to bring your awareness into your heart center. So as you feel your heart, you start to attract beautiful things to you, like Stell that just got on with us live. So I'm super excited that she's here. We're going to bring her on in just a couple minutes. So as you're just feeling your connection to your heart and drawing even more love to you through people, places, circumstances, events, you can just feel the heartbeat of love, of life at that place within you. And then taking a few deep breaths, imagining that there's a tunnel connecting your heart to your gut, that center point of your awareness. Just come down that tunnel of love all the way from your heart center, straight to your core. And at this place of your gut, your inner knowing, just connect to the feeling of certainty and truth. And you can feel that knowing within you. You might even like to imagine the color yellow, like I'm wearing, and just start to open up to receive all that you know. The wisdom within you, the clarity within you, and the ability to be truly honest with yourself and others, which is what Stell is going to be talking with us about today, which I'm super excited because I love her authenticity. So she's one of those people kind of like me that has traveled the road less traveled and just paved one for herself. And she does it from that place of her own inner knowing and what's true for her. And she was also on Intuition to Income, which is a global summit I do. And she, really shared about how, she follows what's true. She knows what's true for her. And you gotta watch that show because I don't remember all of it, but it's basically the certainty and the discernment of saying yes or no. And sometimes being okay saying no. And for me, that used to be a challenge, but I'm getting better at it. So she's definitely my teacher in that and really sticking to what is true. So Stell, I'm going to click you over and see if we can bring you in live. Okay, you should be good. Welcome.
Hi. Hi. So nice to be here with you, Abby.
Of course. So where are you talking to us from today?
I'm in Los Angeles today, this morning. It's a little gloomy and cloudy, which is funny for summer. But
I know, it's kind of flipping the seasons. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything you want to add? Just like welcome and just introduce yourself and anything else you want to share with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Abby said, my name is Stell Barami, and I run a business called Rediscover Exploration, where we focus on connection, whether it's connection to oneself or connection to others through team building or empowerment coaching. We also offer excursions often on horseback, which is really beautiful because horses are so in touch always with their intuition. So fitting for me to be here with you, Abby, today talking about intuition.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, for sure. So how have you been able to connect with and feel your intuitive center? Like what has been your process to really get clear on that?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's really about, and what I encourage others to do is to really feel into their body and feel into their whole being as well. Really wait for and start to connect with that light up, that part that feels This just feels more of a yes in my body. And maybe it's like even a leaning forward in the chair, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm noticing myself get a little more excited about this, or maybe it's just a smile or a brightness inside. Sometimes it's something that is so subtle that it's only noticed if you even just like close your eyes or lower your lids and check in with yourself and feel that. And sometimes it's even so subtle as if you're making a decision between two things, taking one and checking how it feels in your body and checking the other, how it feels in your body, and seeing which one just has a little bit more of a light up. It's a lot of times coming out of the head, coming out of the mind, and coming into the body and just noticing what are the sensations in your body, scanning the body and checking it with different parts of you. And then also seeing what pings, what lights up, what sparks.
Hmm. Yeah, I love it. It's funny. Right before I moved, I remember my friend was like, "Is it a full body yes?" Yeah, I was like, "What's that?" And then when it was a full body yes, like I literally did lean in towards it, and it's like, "Yes, I'm ready," right? And so it's like, I do feel like our bodies are like the messengers of, what it is that we're meant to do next and what serves us, and it just makes sense, right? Like something that lights you up and makes you happy, of course, is a yes, and something that like contracts you is like a no, obviously, and I think it's such a gift to actually also feel the contractions of the no. My lower back went out last week, and it was, as I go deeper into it, I'm seeing what it was, part of what it was telling me no to, right? And also some of the other
Mm,
messages. So it's just like really listening to what is our body sharing with us, right? Like what is the wisdom and the message that it's holding?
absolutely, absolutely. How's your back doing now?
It's
I feel
better.
you on that. I used to have that
Yeah.
happen all the time, so I feel you
Yeah.
on that so much.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Once I got like the emotional message and then
Mhm,
also nutritionally and just physically, I
mhm,
really had to ramp up some things. So I intuitively chose the right vitamins and things to eat and just was like dialed in. So I think, really listening to what it's telling us that
mhm,
it is us, right? And so I love the subject of embodied intuition because if you think about all the space that your body takes up and then emits this energetic field, it's so much even greater than your mind, right? Like it literally is a presence. So it's funny, like my neighbor, he's probably like 80 years old. I walk down the street and he's like, wow, like here she comes, right? Because you can like feel the energy when you're fully embodied. All of us, you're carrying that presence of love that you are and all the other essence qualities of you. But to embody it, your intuition is bringing all of you, right?
mhm,
And that is the gift.
mhm,
Um, I think it's a fascinating subject around fear. I think what takes people out of their bodies is fear. Um, I saw a friend that I haven't seen for God months, and she was saying, "Man, Abby, I just feel like I'm like not in my body," and she was experiencing a lot of fear and just emotional stuff. So I think it'd be really helpful still to maybe share any practices or exercises you have, and if I have any that come to mind too, of just staying embodied when the fear comes, right? To actually be able to find our center in the midst of fear or upset, whether it's physical or emotional, right? Especially with the state of the planet, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring up fear too, because fear can actually be a guiding system, sharing with ourselves that we're actually heading in the direction that we need to head into, that we're heading into that direction of expansion, of coming into the place where it is our next step on our journey. With that said, though, it's so important to be able to decipher what kind of fear it is. Is it a fear of the ego where it's, no, I'm comfortable here. I don't want to have to step into that. I don't want to have to make that change and grow into that
Mhm.
person that I am becoming? Or is it a fear where it's honestly, no, that doesn't feel right in my system? It's like an absolute no. So I decipher those two as, is it a fear of the ego? Like, no, I would be more comfortable where I am. Or is it a fear of the body knowing it's just not the right place? It's just not the right time. This is an absolute hard no in my body. With that said, within certain contexts, for example, within context of intimacy, I don't ever recommend pushing the fear. I don't ever recommend saying, oh, is it a fear of my ego that I don't want to step into this relationship with someone? That's a different story. It's a different story than if it's your business or if it's a workout or something more in your day-to-day life.
Mhm,
Um, so there is that importance of deciphering that kind of fear too.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, so I mean, it's funny. Early on in my intuitive development training, I remember one of my teachers, Sonia Choquette, you might know her, and she had this exercise that was if I if I weren't afraid, I would, which is basically you're confronting the fear, right? You're just like, if I weren't afraid, what would I do? And it
Mm,
creates this freedom, this expansion, this opening because I actually believe, yeah, your intuition it is not based in fear. It's based in love, right? So if you're
mhm,
getting any fear messages, it's what is it telling you, right? But to not let the fear rule you. So if you move into that place of your knowing and your certainty, you're
mhm,
able to then have the discernment, which is this is my yes, this feels better than this, right? Discernment
mhm.
is just the knowing of which direction to go, but it's not based in judgment and it's not based in separation, it's based in love.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
super fun. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, for everybody to make a decision, if you're wondering, okay, like I am kind of thinking of expanding into this or wondering if I should do this or that, like drop into that place of your knowing, your certainty, and you'll
Mhm,
actually find that that is a place beyond fear, that you don't
mhm.
even need fear. It's just a knowing of truth.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, we were talking about, before I introduced you, like the roads left less traveled, right? Like I left a scholarship, started a company. It was a knowing. You've done something very similar, actually. And so it's kind of like, stepping into that place of your knowing. It's not fear. It's kind of
Mhm,
exciting. You're like,
mhm,
"Ooh, what's next, right? What's going to be created through me? And how can I inspire others to create what's in them, right?
mhm,
Bring that into the
mhm.
world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing you were asking too is like how to come back to yourself and how to, if there is fear,
Yeah.
what tools are there to come back to yourself? And so another way that I like to approach that too is to kind of step into the fear a little bit more, like
Hmm.
exaggerate that feeling within my body, like, oh, this feels a little scary. Oh, this feels really scary. Like, oh my goodness, how can I exaggerate that and bring myself to like almost that peak of it, to that expand and push into the walls of that, and then take myself the opposite direction, like, oh, okay, I feel quite relaxed. Similar to like some of the yogic techniques of relaxing the body, like tensing all the muscles and then letting everything go to bring awareness to where is the tension in the body. And I think that that can easily be applied with fear too. We can take that in the sense of, oh, I'm so scared. You can even exaggerate it in your embodiment, in your physicality too, and then relax too. And then that just gives the body a bit of range, so it can kind of find its own balance within that and find what is actually true, what is actually true to you, what is actually true to your own being, to your own body.
It's so funny, how they always say like the path of least resistance? Like that's what I
Mm,
thought of when you said that, right? Like when you're relaxing, you're flowing, you're opening up to your intuition, and you're naturally going to just fall back into alignment of feeling good. Whereas when I kind of did that with you, like pushing into the fear, I'm like, ooh, I don't even want to feel that. It feels like electric and like something. I was like, no, thank you. So like your intuition is actually naturally as you relax and listen to your body, gonna just like I said, call you back and just gently let you sit back almost into
mm,
the reality of that place of your loving connection that feels easy and good. And like,
yeah,
yeah, so good.
yeah.
So good. So, sister friend, how have you seen your intuition guide your life? Like, what have you been able to manifest, as a life that you love right now from following your intuition?
Mm. It's interesting because when I think about my intuition and the moments when I first started to listen to my intuition, I was in university and I had a really clear set of ideas of where I was going. I wanted to be a surgeon. I was on a pre med track.
Yeah.
I was working so hard. I had 4 jobs at one point, like, and maximum units, and I had like 3 horses and 2 dogs, and I was like so overloaded, but I was starting to tap into my intuition. And I knew I had a lot going on. And so I kind of pulled everything back a little bit. I maybe had 2 horses and 2 dogs, and I think I had 3 jobs then. And I had graduated, and I still had to do some prereqs for med school. which was my plan at the time. And I pulled it back and I was, okay, I'm doing a little bit less, but it still felt like I was a little bit stretched out and I was doing a lot. And I think that this was a moment where I wasn't honoring my intuition. I heard it and I didn't listen to it. And I was in a really, really serious car accident. And for 9 months, I wasn't able to ride my horses. For 2 months, I wasn't even able to get in and out of bed by myself. I completely needed care. So that was a really big life shift for me. And it was a really big learning lesson for me. This can happen if I don't listen to my intuition. And it really solidified it in myself how important it is not only to hear my intuition, but also to honor it. And I found that time and time again, whenever I hear my intuition and I don't listen to it, something happens that I might not have wanted to have had happen. And so it's just been a clear lesson for me in my life to follow my intuition, to hear it and to honor it and to follow through with it. And from that, that's really led me on the path that I am now and led me in the businesses that I have now. And even though it hasn't made sense, I had this even when I graduated college, my parents saying, oh, you have this UCLA degree, you're letting it go to waste, you need to use it. And I was just, no, I don't want to go work for somebody else. It just doesn't feel right for me. And I'm also recognizing, in that 9-month period, I recognized actually, I don't want to go to medical school. I don't want to do it. I wanted to do it since I was a little kid, and it's not what I want to do. I want to leave that behind and move on to something else. And so I started traveling. I knew that I didn't know why, but I knew I needed to travel. I needed to just learn a lot more about myself, learn a lot more about the world. And I did. It really, we speak about authenticity. That connected me to my authentic self. That helped me learn who I am. And I can say that so much of it comes back to that point of that car accident when I didn't listen to my intuition. I had months and months of my intuition telling me, slow down, like reassess. You don't need to be doing a million things at once. Like, let's just focus on the things that are really important. And so much of my life can be brought back to that moment where I didn't listen to my intuition. And so much changed for me because I didn't honor my intuition.
Mhm. Well, what I think is beautiful is that, yeah, it puts you on your path. Like you really flipped it and made it work for you, or the universe, yeah, the way you saw it. Um, yeah, that's really beautiful. What was it about traveling that made you feel like you reconnected to yourself and really were able to listen?
Mm,
Here?
yeah. In traveling, I was exposed to, and I am, as I continue to travel, exposed to so many cultures that are unfamiliar to me. Because I studied anthropology in university and I loved it so much. There was an anthropologist, Franz Boas, and he said, make the unknown known and the known unknown. And I love that so much. That's exactly what travel was for me. It was making the unknown known. And then when I would return back home to California, the known was so unknown because it was so strange and so unfamiliar to me because of what I had been experiencing. And I traveled in so many countries, so many developing countries, that just the lifestyles are so different, whether it was living without electricity or living without consistent running water, just the difference in lifestyle of, maybe I don't have a really comfortable bed and working Wi-Fi. Maybe there are lots of bugs that come into wherever I'm living, whatever it is. Or it could be living somewhere like Bali where it's quite luxurious and beautiful and still the culture is so different. So in that place of just being exposed to different cultures, I really got to learn so much about how other folks live in the world. And I think one thing that was really important for me is that before traveling, I had an idea of I need to have all of these things in my life, or, whether it was like supplements or products, or, oh, I have to have a really comfortable pillow or something like that. And in traveling, I learned even simple things. I don't need to have a lot of things. I just don't need a lot of things. And I think that when I don't have all of those things, it actually connects me more to myself because there's not all these distractions. There's not all these, oh, I'm getting low on my favorite oat milk or whatever, it's like, okay, well, maybe instead I can make some coconut milk, or I can make some I can make some hemp milk, or simple things like that I learned to expand what I thought was possible. I learned different cultures. I learned how they approach life and living. I learned that there's so many ways to do the same thing. And it just broadened my mind and it broadened my perspective. And from that, it really helped me to check back in with myself. Another thing, another thing about traveling that really helped me learn myself is that most of my travel has been by myself. And especially in the beginning of my travel, I really wanted to travel how the locals travel. So in India, I wanted to take the third class train. I wanted to take the buses. I wanted to do everything how the locals did it because I wanted to experience it that way. I wanted to have that really immersive experience. And in that, I had to really connect with my intuition. I had to really learn to trust that. Am I safe here? Is this the right path to take? Is this the right place to stay? Is this the right person to connect with? I had to really come into trusting myself in that, because in traveling, if you don't know anyone, there has to be that deciphering. There has to be that place of, is this a safe option for me? Especially as a solo traveler, there has to be that as well. And I didn't have someone to lean on. I didn't have someone to check in, like, what do you think about this? Like, is this safe? Should we do this? Should we not? And it really brought me to that place of, I have to trust myself. I have to listen to my intuition. I'd had that car accident experience before where I didn't listen to my intuition. And it brought me to that place where I have to listen to my intuition. And in that, it also brought me to a place where I feel so much more comfortable in the world. Like, I will tell you, I didn't feel comfortable in the world before. I was so scared of so many things. I was really shy. Like, it was hard for me to go and make new connections because, I had this identity about me that I'm shy. I don't know how to connect with people. And traveling really like opens that all up, and it also connected me deeper with myself and my intuition.
Wow. Yeah, I love that you shared that. And I too, man, it was probably my early 20s. I remember it kind of felt like a rites of passage. And I was very clear, like, my first really big international trip was going to be by myself, right? Like, I was very guided to do it. And it was to Thailand. And I remember the same type of experience that you had, where I just had this knowing within me that I was going to be safe, right? And so I'm bringing this up because it can be applied to everyday life, because your mind can ask, well, am I going to be safe? Is this okay to do it, right? And so I'd like research it, be like, it sounds so funny because it's so ridiculous to say, but like, are the Thai people safe? Like, of course they are. But I like had that thought. So I'd like call a friend that'd been in Thailand before, and she's like, oh yeah, they're the most loving people you'll ever meet. And so I kept feeling this knowing, right? And like, again, how I started everybody at the beginning is moving into your heart and then to your center, to your gut, to your knowing, to your full bodied experience. So I'd be feeling my body and just feeling like this very solid, like positive, expanded, but very grounded feeling. And I remember my mom, she was just like, oh my goodness, like, my daughter's going to a third world country. Like, she was just like kind of freaking out. I think she sent like something out to my email list or something. It was so funny. But I still had this knowing, and she trusted me. And so did my dad, enough, like, what were they going to do anyways, but they were just kind of like, all right, there she goes again. But it was this deep knowing. And when I got there, God, I still remember, it was so amazing. Like, I got off the plane and I was just like greeted by all these amazing, beautiful faces and just so much love. Got to the hotel and was just so overjoyed. One of the men that worked there, like, became a good friend, ended up taking me like all around Thailand, like on his little motorbike. I mean, we ended up all over the place. And I got like sick once, and then his family took care of me. I mean, it was so divine. So it was this place of like, that's actually when the theme of like the universal language of love started to come through me. Cause I was like, I didn't speak Thai, but I spoke the language of love. Like, I just had my heart open. I was willing to give and receive, and it flowed. And so, whether you're traveling or not, you can experience that in your everyday life, like with an open heart that's receptive. And like your gut is like your inner compass of discernment. Like, hey,
Mhm.
this does feel really good. I am going to hop on that motorbike. Yeah, you might think I'm crazy to just hop on with little Thailand and go around like all of Thailand and up to like amazing temples. And I still remember this baby elephant we saw on the road. Like, it was amazing. Like, but it felt right. And so it's the same thing every day. It feels right. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe people think you're crazy. Like when I left my scholarship, the dean was like, "Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind?" I was like, "Maybe, but I feel really good." So I'm going. So like it
Yes.
really doesn't matter because like you're so clear and you know why you're doing what you're doing. And
Mhm.
it's that connection we truly have to each other. And I think and to ourselves. Like you said, trust yourself, right? So if it's a yes, it's kind of like you know that your intuition knows it's paving the way and you're
Mhm.
trusting it. And there's like 500 million cells in your gut alone. Like I've mentioned that like fact before. So
Mhm.
meaning the intelligence of your intuition is higher than your mind.
Mhm.
So that's why often we make choices like, wow, I just moved here and I don't know why, but I know I was supposed to. Or I took this job offer. I don't know why, but it led me to meeting the man that I'm married to now, right?
Mhm.
Like you see why later.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just feel like as you take either baby or big steps towards trusting yourself and your intuition, your life expands into just such a beautiful life. You know, like I just look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. It's like it's just amazing because in the moment you're not really thinking about it. You're so in tune with your intuition. And I guess the other thing I was going to ask you when you're talking, just so everybody can clearly feel what their
Mhm.
intuition is to really understand what we're saying when we say follow your intuition. Because maybe it can be confusing. Maybe people are listening like, well, what is my intuition like? How do I know that I'm following that? So, do you want to speak on that, to make sure people really know that it's their intuition speaking to them?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to lead everyone through a little exercise if that's all right with you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to invite everyone to either close your eyes or lower your lids, whatever is more comfortable for you. And in that place, just start to breathe in deep, expanding your belly, expanding your back, just filling up all of these places within your body. Almost like one of those blow up dolls outside of a car sales lot, where you just inhale and you fill up with air and exhale, and all of that air comes out. You come back closer to yourself. You inhale and you're expanding from within. So, in this place of the air filling you, we're just starting to wake up various channels within your being, within yourself. And from here, one way to attune into your light up or to into your intuition is to just bring into your consciousness, into your thought, one thing that you know you love, one thing that you know lights you up. For me, it's always this little puppy I used to have, and I loved him so much. So whenever I think about him, I just light up within me. I have that ping, I have that light up. And now just come back to yourself and focus again on your breathing and expanding with the breath again. As you exhale, almost allowing your skin to come back closer to the core of you. And now bring up something that you might be questioning. Maybe it's what you want to eat for breakfast, what you want to have for dinner. And just check in. Is there that same light up about the thing that you know that you love? It doesn't have to be the exact same, yet you want something that pings, something that is a turn up within your system. And you can bring into your consciousness another alternative and check with that. Does that have more of a ping or more of a light up? So just seeing which one lights up more, which one shines brighter within you, which one sparks you a bit more. You can go ahead and open your eyes and come back to yourself. You can move your fingers or your toes a little bit to kind of wake yourself back up a little bit. So I wanted to bring everyone back for a moment just because I wanted to speak a little bit more about it. And I wanted you all to be back here with me in a place together. So in intuition, for me, this is just a simple exercise that I love to do. I love to check in with myself and see what pings more, see what lights up more. And it's really simple. It can be as simple as just taking that moment, taking that breath to just slow down and to listen and be present with yourself. I like to encourage either the eyes closing or the lids lowering. But whatever it is, it's that place of coming within, coming inside, just tuning into yourself and connecting with yourself. And in that place, listening to yourself and being present with yourself, there's so much that can be answered. There's so much that can be recognized. So in that place of, if it's closing your eyes or lowering your lids, that's a place where you can check in with yourself a bit more. And it doesn't have to be that. It could just be pausing, taking a breath. Let me just check in with myself. And it can be eyes open too, just feeling what feels like it's coming more for me at this moment. Another thing that I love to do is it's so easy to be in our heads, to be in our thought about something. And so almost to just consciously say, let me come out of my head. Let me just bring it into my gut. Let me bring it into my body. How do I feel about that now? How does that feel within me now? So you can look at things in different places. You can look at them in your mind. You can look at them in your heart. You can look at them in your gut. You can check it out in different places in your body. You can check it in your root, You can check it in so many places. And then there's also this place of just checking it with which one lights up more, which one has more of a ping. And it's something you can use for everything too. I had this experience just yesterday, actually. It was a thought of disappointment. Oh, I really wanted something to go one way, or I was really hoping for this. And then I paused for a moment and I brought it into my body and I thought about it. Like, how do I feel about that in my body? Actually, my body feels just fine with it. There's not pain, there's not aching in my body. My body feels just fine with it. Like, can that help me on a conscious level be more fine with it? And I thought to myself, like, yeah, it can. And actually, you know what? Maybe it wasn't what was meant for me. And whatever is meant for me is coming. And whatever is meant for me is going to be so much better than whatever I thought I wanted. So really, when you're checking, like, is this my intuition? Check it on different levels within yourself. And the mind is such a beautiful tool. But in checking with our intuition, we don't want to just rely on our mind. That would be like, I'm going to have Cheerios for breakfast every single day for the rest of my life. Maybe you love Cheerios, but it could be that you miss out on a lot of the human experience by just having Cheerios for breakfast. And I think that goes quite similarly with intuition too. Our mind is a beautiful aspect of our human experience, and it's not the only aspect. It's not the only factor. So really just checking in with our intuition, checking in with ourselves, and checking in with our embodied intuition. Like, how does it feel in your body? How does it feel in your body? How is that? And if you're wondering, like, well, how, and I think you have an exercise around this too, Abby, how do I get into practice of following my body a bit more? How do I come into my body? It's so easy in modern day world to be so disembodied. We're on electronics. We're focusing on things that are so right in front of us that it's hard to say, like, how am I feeling about this in my body out of just my mind and within my whole being? And so the simple exercise that I love to do, I love to just either lay on the floor or stand in the middle of the room and just wait. Just wait. Something will happen. My body will move itself. I might have a thought like, oh, I want to go make a cup of tea. And I notice that thought. It's okay that it's there. Let me just wait for my body to actually pick me up and go put the kettle on.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just getting in that practice of following the impulse and honoring the body. And another way to strengthen the intuition is to actually listen to it. Like I had that experience where I wasn't listening to my intuition and I came into that car accident and I was just shutting my intuition down. I was saying, no, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to listen to that.
Mhm.
But whenever we do listen to our intuition, we strengthen it. We
Mhm.
strengthen it. It's like any other muscle, Intuition is something to be trained in the sense of the more we listen to it, the stronger it will get and the more it will speak to us, the more present it will be. The more present we are with our own intuition, the more present our intuition will be with us.
Yeah. Oh, I love so much of what you said. It really feels like, first of all, I love that you said, basically, you knew your intuition was talking to you. So I believe we all know at some level. So the question is, are we listening? So, what is it that you know right now that maybe you're not either telling yourself the truth about or wanting to admit or wanting to like bring to the surface of like, you know what, I really do know this. Like, I really do know that I need to move, but I'm scared. Like, for an example, right? Like, that's not my case. I love where I live, but I'm just saying something that maybe you're knowing your intuition is telling you, like giving yourself permission to listen. And not that you have to act right away, but just that you're first becoming aware and then,
Mhm.
having the courage to take that action. Um, so beautiful. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to share. So the word called earthing came to mind like for
Mm.
like the last week, just clients and friends and myself as well, feeling the very deep need to harmonize with the earth. So I'd literally like put my feet like towards the ocean and just even if they weren't in the water, just put them towards the water or like on the earth. So, put them on grass or if you're in the forest or by a tree. I had another friend, I was like, just hold this tree, like put your hand on the tree and just feel your harmony with the earth. Because I agree that energy is so electronic right now. And I know it's so important for us to be back to the basics, back to Mother Earth, to heal with whole foods, to be present, and walk with Mother Earth. So just really, I invite everybody to do that. Like even as I say those words, I feel my body grounding. I feel just a state of calm and peace because we are meant to be here. We are here. As we embody more of our intuition, we come into the harmony with all of life. And the other thing about listening, you can have clear audience where you can actually hear through your mind and your inner ear. But what you were saying is more of a clear sentience where you're feeling with your body. So your intuition isn't always, an inner voice. It can very much just be a listening of my body feels like this or like that. And I'm going to trust that feeling. That is tuning in and
Yeah.
listening to your intuition. There can also be visions. Like I will get, clairvoyance of like, oh, this way will look like that, and that will look like that. Okay, I think I'll choose that light path. That looks and feels better.
Mhm.
So open to that. And for anybody that's wanting to develop your intuition, you can go to lifeforceconnection.com. We have courses on how to develop your intuition, to embody your intuition. I'd say go on horseback with Stell. Like go have like a retreat where you're like really experiencing what that feels like. Or if you're wanting to have a retreat, maybe work for a corporation that you feel like, man, that would be really amazing to really just ground in and find that harmony. So I love that. I love that you do that group work too. So yeah, is there anything else you want to add? Just some key points about what you said I thought were really important.
But I love that you brought up earthing because that's something that's so important to me. Wherever I am, for example, for me, it's really challenging to be in a city. And something that really helps me connect back to myself and back to my own centered knowing is to just connect with the plants and the nature that's there. Whether it's just, a palm tree in a 3 square foot little patch of dirt amongst a sidewalk, whatever it is, wherever I can find nature, that really helps me connect back to myself. Another thing I love to do too is to just watch the leaves of wherever I am. watch kind of the outlines of the plants and see how they move. And that helps me, in my own understanding, know kind of what the energy of the place is. For example, when I'm in Bali, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, Abby, in your travels there, the plants are so vibrant and so alive, so vibrant and so alive. And I think that has to do a lot with the local connection to the spirits, and the spirits are just dancing through the plants, and they're really coming through the plants. And so for me, what that does is it helps me check in with the environment around me, and it helps kind of, in my own understanding, understand what it is also that I might be feeling as well. And another thing that I wanted to bring up about earthing, because being with nature is so important to me, and I love that you brought it up. I love that you brought up placing your feet on the earth, placing your feet in the direction of the ocean or in the ocean. And another thing that I love about earthing is that place of connecting with the earth. And, you know, in so many ways, whether it's like we're living in an apartment or even the shoes that we're wearing are unnatural materials. So I just wanted to say this because this is something I really advocate for, is having either barefoot walking or walking on something that's made of a natural material, whether it's like a plant fiber or an animal skin. I do that myself, and I find that that really helps me just ground, earth, and from that place of being more connected to the earth, I'm also more available to connect with myself as well. So I want to encourage that, because I understand that there are so many, you know, there's trends like barefoot running, but then there with shoes that are made of plastics or artificial rubbers or a combination of both. And I really find a lot of value in having a natural fibered sole, completely natural fibered sole. And whenever you can, just lay directly on the earth. Like, that's such a beautiful way to just connect back to yourself. And I think that is another tool to help strengthen your own intuition, one's own intuition.
Yeah, 100%. That's funny. When I first moved to California, I remember, this is like, I mean, God, 14, 15, 16, I don't know, 18 years ago, a long time ago, I literally lay on the ground. Yeah, because I would just like, come back into my body. And just last week, there was another client who was just laying on the earth. She's like, can I do this session laying? And so I think we're all feeling that need to like really be held and connect in and feel the light beneath us, supporting us and above us, right? But then to let that light move through us, right? To realize we are of that light. It's like we're a particle in the ocean, right? And so as we become one with all that is from that place of connection, we can then contribute to the greater good, right? We can be supported and support. So it's that natural giving and receiving, you know? And it's just, I mean, there's so many fun moments. Like, this might seem like a small thing, but it was like such a big thing to me. So like I kept saying, and this is just really like the law of abundance, right? That like whatever we need comes to us. So I just kept thinking and saying, like, I really want a white candle. Like, my white candle is burnt out in the living room. And so I go on this amazing walk, bump into my cousin. This is just yesterday, and haven't seen her in like months. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how fun is this? Go up into the hills, come back. And I guess my neighbor had stopped by, and she wanted to give me a white candle, right? And I didn't even ask her directly for it. She just showed up at my doorstep. And I was like, the universe hears, and we're that tuned in, right? Like, I'd earthed, I'd gone on a walk, I was in harmony, I was in a place of like, how do I serve and be served? And I just opened up, and without even efforting or trying to make something happen, it's just delivered. Yeah. I feel like when we move into resonance of the divine life force energy and that flow within us, we are served and we serve. And it's that purity of heart. And to me, yeah, the white candle, it's that purity, it's that love, it's like that, I am that, right? And so moving into that. So maybe notice if there's a symbol or something, like whether it's a candle for you or a crystal or a rock that you find on the ground that can bring you back to your connection to the harmony with the earth and your divine, innate life force energy that's moving through you. And just seeing where it's guiding you, right? And how you're being supported for the life. And really, in doing so, you are inspiring others to do the same, right? Because like, that's a lot of light. That's cool. What are you doing, right? And then it just expands. It ripples.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that part that you added too about in the way that it invites others to do the same, because it's so true. It's so true. And I think that there are so many social stigmas around, oh, intuition could be too woo-woo, or walking barefoot could be too this or that, or if someone were to hug a tree, it can be too much this or that. But I think that the more that each of us embrace this, that we invite others to do the same.
Oh my goodness. So I think intuition is the most practical thing you could possibly do for yourself. Like, it is the most non-woo-woo thing. It happens to maybe connect you to greater expansion and possibility, but because it's your innate knowing, because its wisdom is even stronger than just your mind alone, your mind is part of it. It can move through your mind. It's the most practical thing. And I think that's why I teach how to monetize your gifts, is when you use intuition for something like money, which supports you and expands your life. The more money you have, the more you can serve. We donate to orphanages and we have so many great things we do with money. What is it that inspires you to trust yourself, to then follow your intuition and realize as you do, you're practically contributing and living life in the way that you're designed to, which is being who you are. Like, really following your intuition is the highest expression of who you are, because it's living the truth of you. And as you do that, you are born with innate gifts. So when you activate them and monetize them, you're like bringing to earth why you're here, and you're contributing. And then that place of money, when it's from a place of service, it's just an exchange of love, right? It's like, thank you. Like, you can even buy vitamins. Like, thank you for the money to buy these vitamins. We're actually supporting me. I'm glad I could pay for those to have those vitamins to help my body, right? It's the same thing in a service-based business. If you have another product, whatever it is, it's all that exchange of energy. So just trusting that, as you follow your intuition, like I said, you're becoming more of who you are. You are supported because you're here on purpose. You are that greater expression of love. And as you really have the courage to take action, like that's the key piece, right? Like, leaving the scholarship and starting a company at 19, I took action. I drove the car. I did the brochures. I did it. So what do you need to do that brings it into reality? The action piece that bam, like the table was once thought, now it's built. It's a physical form, Yeah. So really see the areas in your life that you can trust yourself to take action on what you know. And we're here to support you. And I'm just so grateful that you're here, showing up as you. And we're in it together. So, totally. So, Stell, is there any way, I'm sure there is, how can people connect with you if they wanted to do like a group retreat or some one-on-one work? What do you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. You can find us at our website, rediscoverexploration.com. You can send us an email, your family at rediscoverexploration.com, or you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, rediscover_exploration. And our Facebook page is Connect with Rex, REX. So many ways to get in contact with us. Just send us a message and share what it is that you're wanting to dive deeper into, and we're here to support you in that.
That's awesome. Well, is there any mantra, anything you'd like to leave the audience with today that they can just kind of remember as they go throughout their week until we meet again next week?
Yeah, absolutely. Just pause and listen to yourself, become present to yourself. There is always a space for, even in the midst of an action, even while continuing to move forward with that action, there is always a space to just pause. Just pause, stay present, and listen to yourself.
The intuitive pause, baby. And then you'll know what's next. Wow. So great.
Yeah.
Well, have a beautiful week, everyone. We'll see you next Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And make sure to tune in to lifeforceconnection.com. You can also find us on Instagram, and we are here to serve you as well. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.